Hello and welcome to the podcast. There's a long, awkward pauses at the beginning of the video.
It's going to be our sort of thing from now on.
I'm Josh.
I'm Brad.
He is on here.
That's
So,
right.
Today we are going to do our usual stuff of talking about things we have done this week, highlights, new games that have come out, new games that will come out, and news, and other stuff along the way. So,
it's our new news.
Yeah. Have you had any highlights this week, Brad?
Have I had any highlights this week? Well, all my highlights are pretty much old lights because I did not participate in the release of Audioshields this week, which immediately went from 4.8 to 4.2 to 3.9 stars in a matter of an hour. So, and the review today in Upload, which I never agree with, I did, which really surprised me. But like they said, listen, the problem with Audioshield is that it's an old game and they've kept to the old style. So even though it's a great way to access your library, which, let's face it, we all love our own music the best, so, but it's still not done correctly. You know, the objects fall from too high up, too close to you, too stuttery. They never really made it for 2020, you know. They did. So it's too retro, is bottom line.
Yeah. That was more of a low light than a highlight, though.
Yeah, that's true. For my highlight, I would have to say just being able to go back into some of my older games that really I got when I first got the Quest. We had mentioned this before. I have a lot of games that I never finished playing.
Right.
And I've had the chance to go back in and experience them. And damn, if some of the original games weren't fantastic. I mean, really fantastic. I went back in and played Dead and Buried 2 again a couple of times because Michael had talked about it, so he got me stoked again. It's been months, and I saw that they're doing an update again now. So I'm hoping that this update is something that gets people into it, because this game is so much better than anybody has ever given it credit for. It just needs to sort of be pushed back into shape. And I think if they put some events behind it and actually make it better for multiplayer without just the randomness to it, and so that you can set it up with friends, then it'll be a much bigger gameplay for shooters, especially because right now we're lacking the shooters.
Yes, we are.
And the other highlight was my email saying I got into the Echo VR beta.
Yep, so, that's always a good highlight.
Yeah,
I got that email too. So,
so then you know.
I think probably 90% of the people who signed up for the beta did, because the everybody won, I believe. Everyone who signed up for it.
Okay.
So
I don't know.
Because the timeline was they had the closed alpha, and then they started bringing in more people, and then they opened it head up to those who were level 5 and above in the closed alpha, and then the next stage was the closed beta, which was people who had just signed up regardless of what level they were.
Right. Well, so I'm looking forward to it. I had played it a while ago when it was on Vive. Played it on Steam or Rift. I don't remember. I have the right, one or the other, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun, but it was tethered, and tethered is really in that game not where you want to be tethered. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to the question.
Yeah. Another game you don't want to be tethered in is Throw Up the Fight.
Oh God.
I don't even wear this when I'm in that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
because with my luck I'll go and just rip it right out and break it.
Yeah, Thrill of the Fight does catch you. I mean, there is no backing out because your opponent follows you, so there is no backing away, which is one of the best parts of the game, other than its price. So yeah, anybody that doesn't have it, please, that's definitely a keeper.
Yes, it is. It's the best boxing game um, in VR right now.
Bar none. Bar
Yeah,
none.
and
Best boxing.
it wouldn't have the cheapest ones also.
I know. I know. You know, none of the gimmicks. It's boxing, and
Yep,
the better you know boxing, the better you'll do. Also,
yep,
which is so it's a simulator and the boxing, and
yep.
it's great. It really
Yeah.
is. Just warn anybody in your presence that they shouldn't be.
Yes. They should not be in your presence. Yes.
No, you're going to go crazy in this game, so something might get hurt.
Yep. Also, I'm hearing a little bit of an echo sometimes. I'm not right now, but it was a little bit ago, so I don't know. Hopefully, it doesn't make it into the recording, but if it does, my apologies, viewers.
Yes, mine too, even though I'm not responsible. But I'll take
You
some
might
of
be
that.
responsible. I don't know.
I might be. That's true.
So,
Yep.
any other highlights? Any other things that stood out for you
Anything else that stood out for me?
in a positive way?
In a oh, that's interesting. Um, well, it was nice to see that they did the key in a provocative manner, and
Well, we can talk about that a little bit more in the new releases section of the show. But yeah,
okay, so yeah, the key was just an interesting freebie that they threw at me, and other than that, nothing specific, really, nothing specific other than the fact that thank God for VR during this lockdown. You
right.
know, that's the biggest highlight of all is the fact that I just don't. And then the biggest low light on top of that is the fact that everybody seems to be playing single player games these days. So
I know that. I don't know.
it's
I
kind of
always
crazy.
had more fun way back in the Nintendo 64 days. I always had more fun when I was playing with other people than when I was playing by myself.
Hmm.
I mean, as much as I love Metal Gear Solid, and yes, I know there wasn't a Nintendo 64 title, but it's kind of in the same era. As much as I loved that and I loved Final Fantasy, what was more pure fun was Mario Kart, GoldenEye, Turok Dinosaur Hunter with my brother and his friend over in local multiplayer with the quadrants
Right.
on the TV and all that. So, you know, with friends was always a lot better. And I'm an introvert. I'm not an extrovert. So,
But this is perfect for introverts. That's the funny
right.
part, is because you don't have to reveal yourself to anybody except to the level that you feel comfortable.
Yep. If you don't want to, you don't have to even talk when you're in a multiplayer
Well,
VR game. Some of them don't have microphones, so they don't have a voice chat. Others allow you to turn off your microphone, like one of our MVR Discord members does. He always has his microphone turned off, but he still plays the multiplayer games. You know?
right. So it sort of surprised me that as opposed to a lot more events taking place in VR, they seem to be taking place on flat screen. You know, like today they're going to have that World Together on NBC, MSNBC, all the NBC affiliates, where
Right.
basically everybody that's anybody is going to be on your screen and sharing part of their day with you, trying to make everybody feel somewhat better. Because I was going to say that I first got into multiplayer gaming back in the Atari 2600 when you had people sitting in the same room. But,
Right.
with my Xbox 14 years ago, when I was able to play Gears of War with my friend in Canada while I was in Florida,
Right.
and he was able to say, go push the car and I'll watch you from this window, and cover you.
Right.
And so here it is 14 years later, and people are still acting like video games are not social.
Right.
And I'm
Well,
still,
and at the same time, there are articles out there about how the video games are really helpful in this time also. So, there's people on both sides.
yeah, true. And I'm sure people have baked in opinions as to all of these things as well.
Yeah.
So it's, who are you talking to? It's your audience and everything else. But, but like I said, specifically now during the lockdown,
Hmm.
I would have thought that this would have been the opportunity because, as you know, a lot of the VR places are making their games available now at discount sales and
Right.
lockdown and all these other things. But somehow or other, the event organizers haven't taken this opportunity to
Right.
invite multiple players in and expand the VR social universe or esports during this particular time.
Um, uh, Part of the reason for that, I think, is a lot of the new growth in VR right now is Quest. And as yet, there aren't necessarily a whole lot of those esport games on the Quest. There are some that can be, like, I was involved in that Pistol Whip tournament a while back,
Hmm.
but that was I was by myself doing it. My scores, they got registered during the time frame of the event. It was coordinated with the developers, and they wiped everybody's scores on that song if they were participating in the event, so that they have only the the scores from the event on the leaderboard.
Right.
But still, it, it was a knee sport, and it was a good workout, But
Right.
it had to have a lot of work to make it happen. Things like Onward and Echo and all those kinds, those don't exist yet on the Quest. We're both going to be doing the Echo VR beta on Monday
Right.
on the Quest, so it is coming. We are both in the contractors beta, and that's coming at some indefinite point in the future. We hope.
We hope.
The Pavlov is here, but it's not exactly the same Pavlov as it is on the PC version. It's Pavlov Shack, and it's only on side quest, which, even though is super easy and super safe, not everyone is comfortable with it on a technical level, let alone on a worried about the legalities level.
Right. Right.
So that's going to limit its audience on the Quest a little bit. Only the people who are comfortable with messing around with their computer and their Quest are going to be getting it. So, we are slowly getting there on the VR esports, and I think it's going to open up a lot more once we get those titles on the Quest natively and they have crossplay with the other platforms.
True, but that's those titles. I mean, there's other titles like Racket NX. There's other
Yeah.
titles which are sports. I mean, there is no two ways
Well,
about
yeah,
it. And
yeah,
those could be
and
bracketed.
yeah, yeah, and there's also, even though VR is growing and there's a lot of people in it, there's still not quite the numbers needed that are doing multiplayer anyways, to support all of the titles that could be esports.
Right. Well, that's why I'm saying I would have thought that somebody would have organized a few of these games into a triathlon of sorts, like a VR triathlon or Ironman type thing.
Hmm.
And that would have really, and it still probably does have time. I don't know when your governor's opening up the state. We're all guessing, you know.
Well, my government is probably not opening up the state until September of next year.
My governor has already opened up the beaches. So, you know, hey, I think your governor has some higher IQ points going for him.
No.
Uh, that's true. We're finding everybody's weak points here.
So, anyways, yeah, the VR sports is still coming. It's still in its infancy, I think. You know, it's not quite all the way there yet, but it will be.
Oh no, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I do. But I'm just
and
saying that this particular
yeah,
time
yeah.
would have been
I know.
one heck of a time.
Well, heck, so this be the perfect time for Facebook to push the button that is blocked by a whole bunch of miniature chads and release Facebook Horizon.
Now you're asking for miracles, Josh. I was just asking for a teeny breadcrumb. You want miracles. I still can't
Well,
play half and
yeah, but
half for more than 5 minutes.
right now would have been the perfect time for that because with everybody, well, I can't go visit my friend in another town, across town, whatever, because we're not supposed to do unnecessary traveling. Well, pop on your Quest or your Rift or and go into Facebook Horizon and hang out with them in the virtual house. But it's not here yet, so.
Yeah,
And it was
I
supposed to be
know.
here in spring, so I think they're running a little bit late.
Yeah, I've noticed that they do have a tendency to run a bit behind their
Yeah,
projections.
yeah. So, anyways, uh, my highlights of the week, a little bit more, as usual. um, I'm in the next to last chapter, I believe, in Lies Beneath. I'm at the same place in the story where Michael, our MBR Discord admin, is currently stuck, and he has been, but he's doing it on hard, which is like nightmare level difficulty.
Which is
So
what he enjoys. So,
yes, and he doesn't want to drop down. So that's his choice.
right. Whereas another
But
member of our group dropped down from medium to easy in order to be able
yeah,
to complete the
well,
mission.
normal not too easy, but yeah,
Right. It's
um,
like, all right, enough.
yeah. Um, uh, Turbo Kite, the pod racing one that I mentioned before, had a little bit of an update. It looks like it's just a cosmetics update for the most part, and it'll put a ghost of your previous or your best lap racing along beside you, so you have a visual of if you're doing better or worse.
That's always
So
cool.
yeah.
That's a nice feature.
Tried out the new map in I got hair in my mouth somehow. I tried out the new thing. Excuse me.
You're having a hard time spitting that game out.
Riveting television right here. I tried
Out
out
with it,
the
out with it.
missing pistol whip, and uh, it's cool. It's fun. It's not quite as challenging as Full Throttle, the next most recent one, but it's just as fun. So,
And they
uh,
threw in antique guns as
uh,
well.
um, uh, you're on a dirigible and going through taking out enemies, and I just hope that your stray bullets don't puncture the hydrogen filled the balloon all around you.
Oh, the humanity. So,
Um, I also tried out Virtual Battlegrounds via Steam via Shadow and Virtual Desktop. So
and
and it worked pretty well until I ran into a problem where I was all of a sudden getting a whole bunch of packet loss, and I'm not sure if that's my end, Shadow's end,
yeah, we had enough things connected to each other.
whatever. I don't know. Yeah, but it's a pretty fun game. It's a battle royale game. You're in a plane, a helicopter, flying bus, like all those have, you're up in the air and you drop out and you parachute down onto the island, and you can squad up or you can go by yourself, and you scavenge guns and weapons and health items, apples, just like the Knives Beneath. It's got a lot of apples too. Uh, and you have a backpack for your inventory, and you can climb almost any surface. Um, and you can actually swim in the water, which I think is really cool, and it feels good because you are underwater and you swim with your actual arms going in the swimming motion.
Wow, that's unusual.
So,
Yes.
yeah. And if you want to sprint, you swing your arms like you start sprinting while you are still holding the forward on the thumbstick, which is a little bit. It feels good. It works. It can be a little hard to control though, because if you want to do a sudden juke left or right or whatever, that's a little bit difficult. But in some ways, it really adds to immersion because you cannot have your weapon up and okay, I'm sprinting. You know, you can't shoot while you are sprinting. It's just like in reality, if you have a weapon and you are running, you're not going to be shooting while you're running.
I've seen movies where they shoot while they run.
Movie, not reality.
I didn't buy a virtual reality. Well, I did. It's virtual reality. There you go. You win.
And my last highlight is I started a Facebook gaming page. It was a little bit tricky to set up because you cannot stream from your headset to a page on Facebook. You can stream to your timeline or to a group, but not to a page. So I had to use Air Server to cast to my computer, and then use OBS to capture the video and then stream it to the Facebook page.
Whoa.
So it's a little bit more complicated than it really should be for the VR setup, in my opinion. But technically, that opens it up so that I can stream sideloaded games. Because with the built-in stream to Facebook function, it only lets you stream store apps. You can't stream a sideloaded app. You can record a sideloaded app, but you can't stream it.
Right, but you're not talking about somebody just being able to jump in. You have to be set up to do this, though. Really.
Well, yeah, and it takes a little fine tuning to figure out what you want your upload, the bit rate set up, and your frames per second, and all that. You got to fine tune all the settings to make it work, especially if you are like me and you're on a little bit of an underpowered laptop. Well,
Yeah, that should be an interesting maneuver. I haven't gotten into that one yet. You've been our video guy here, so but that's really not a
well, in their
perfect.
defense, it's not really intended as a VR streaming platform. It's a gaming platform. It's supposed to be a competitor to Twitch, to YouTube, to Mixer,
Yeah,
which means it's using the same live streaming process. If you need OBS, you need XSplit to Broadcaster, which is a paid competitor to OBS, something like that,
right.
and then you can stream there. And something I found out right now is Restream does not support Facebook pages. It supports your personal timeline, and that's it. Or they have a premium tier where you can get access to more features, like more than one Facebook thing you can stream to. But yeah, you can't stream there from Restream, which means I can't have one stream going and go to Twitch and Mixer and Facebook and YouTube all at the same time. So
Okay. Theoretically, you should though. That should not
well,
be.
yeah, but what I would have to do is I'd have to stream to Facebook, then on another computer set up a stream that's capturing the output of that stream and sending that to Restream.
Mm-hmm. No. Well, good luck. Sounds like a lifetime hobby, and
It'll take a lifetime to figure it out.
I was going to say, I guess if you're more into the tech than playing the game, that sounds
Right.
great. But if you're into playing the game, that sounds like a bit of an obstacle to just jumping right in.
Once you've got it figured out, it's only a matter of some minutes or seconds to get it
Right. Oh, no.
set up. But yeah, it's not the easiest thing to just jump into, and I think Facebook should rethink the friction of getting into that for the VR users. Because not all VR users, especially with the Quest, have a PC that is capable of high quality streaming.
Right.
But the Quest is capable of that. So
if you're going to ask me to defend any of Facebook's decisions,
I know.
I'm afraid I can't do that, sir. I just don't have the time or the inclination. I just accept what they do because I have to in order to use my Quest. Other than that,
Right.
But I do like your logo for your page.
Yeah, made that in Kingspray. So
the
VR made logo for a VR gaming channel.
Perfect.
Moving on to the new releases, now that we are almost half an hour into the show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We have Audioshield, which we both agree is pretty much a pass.
Yeah.
I watched Nathy play it on YouTube with my wife, and she's like, yeah, no.
Yeah, that's pretty much everybody's reaction, other than the fact that, yeah, it's great to hear my own music. Now, if only this thing really did map and really didn't stutter and really looked like an actual game, I would buy it.
Exactly. He
Other
said
than
the
that,
most entertaining thing was watching Nancy dance.
so unless you get a copy that comes with Nady,
Yeah,
okay.
I,
But
I
yeah,
highly doubt that.
right.
So,
Considering that they have Beat Saber and Audica and
yeah,
all of these excellent, rhythm games
right.
already, they
Yeah,
might have, if they were the first to the game.
maybe. And if they'd had better graphics, because I know you and I are some of the first ones to say that if you have the gameplay, graphics don't really matter that much.
Mhm.
But in a game like this, the gameplay is basically the same for all of them. So the graphics matter a lot.
Right. Exactly.
And the quality of the map matters a lot. And auto-generated maps, unless you have a really good algorithm for it, I don't think they are going to hold up to an actual user-made map.
Now, if
Now,
it's
granted, not all users are good at making maps. Some of the user-made maps suck. I know there were a few Beatron user-made maps that were like, what the heck were you smoking when you made this map?
I know. Been there, saw those.
Like, and you are limited to just this
Right.
motion in reality.
They were just a little over motivated.
Yeah,
One less cup of coffee in the morning would have helped a lot.
yeah. But yeah, so I think, as I already said, we both agree this is a pass. That's a
Yeah.
nice idea. Had it come out before Beat Saber, which would not have been possible, really, on the Quest because, but had it, and had it had better graphics and had it had a history of making better maps than we already knew that it made on the Gear VR and the Go, it might have had a chance. But yeah,
I think what it basically boils down to is if they would have just put in, like you said, a little more effort into a little better algorithm,
hmm
even slightly better. It didn't have to
right,
be perfect
right,
because it makes up with your own music. And
right,
if the graphics were, well, the graphics could stand really some definite
yeah,
enhancement. I don't know what they were thinking by putting it out
yeah,
like this. It was like, okay, let's just take something that we could have put out the first week that this came out, and
right,
now we'll put it out a year later. So
right,
they were just late to the game. They really
yeah,
were.
yeah. And we have the key, as we already mentioned a little bit earlier.
Hmm.
This is a VR experience that was one of the new releases, and it's free. It's well done technically. It's still got the hair in my mouth. Okay, there we go. Got it. And a riveting television right here. Uh, um, it's you are inside of the dreams or the memories or whatever of the narrator, and she is they're talking about how they key in all of her dreams and she can't remember much of her childhood or whatever, and she wants to know where she comes from. And when I first read the, the, the description, when I saw it on the upcoming and all that, I hadn't looked at all of the previews, photos, and videos, and I thought it was going to be another one of the 360 live action things, and so I was like, how are they going to make that interactive? Well, it turns out I was wrong. Is computer generated graphics, so it is interactive, and there are uh, portions where you have to teleport a little bit. If you have a big enough area, you can actually walk. But I was in a standing room only when I I played it, so no, I couldn't actually walk. And you have to reach out and touch certain things. Um, and it's well done. It's story is halfway decent, and uh, I'm sure that if you look at the description, you already know what it's about. It's a metaphorical narrative of a refugee and her childhood experience as a refugee.
Right. You're not going to laugh at this. This is going to be a
No.
tearjerker. It was made to pull at your emotions and your sentiments, and it's well
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
So,
It's intended to try to create empathy for refugees, and in and of itself, that's an excellent idea. We all need more empathy for each other. Um, I'm always a little cynical about these empathy creation projects, though. In part because of my I've got a little bit of a background in social psychology, and if I remember right from the the classes that I took, you can't really permanently create empathy in another person through these things. You know, you can't force compassion, you can't force sympathy, you can't force empathy. All you can do is create an opportunity for someone to feel it. So I'm always like, you know,
look, bottom line, I
and
think. Go ahead.
and the other reason why I'm always a little so cynical is because 9 times out of 8, there always seems to be, at least subtly, quote unquote, hidden in it is a political message. And in my opinion, if you're going for empathy, leave the political stuff out of it. Now, in the defense of this, I didn't really see any overt political messages hidden in it. So, so kudos to them for that. But a lot of these things do appear to have that. And since I'm like, leave the politics out. If it's a plight that we should have empathy for, then we should have empathy for it, no matter what political stance anybody has. Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean the whole thing is all any of these things can really hope to do is raise awareness.
Right.
And at that point, if you're empathic towards that plight, it will have made you more empathic. If
Right.
you don't care one way or the other, it will have just made you more aware and maybe in the back of your mind raise a question.
Right.
But you're
Right.
right. Once you inject politics into that, you've solidified the answer. And if the person has an objection to your politics, then they're going to reject your entire way of reaching them.
Right.
So in that respect, I think, yes, if you want to make somebody aware of a situation, that's fine. And then if you want to give them a way to look further into it, that's fine as well.
Right.
But I would not force a political view on someone by sharing information or an emotional experience.
Right. Right. And to the credit of the developers of the key, I didn't really see much of that going on in there. So that's good, and that's not a criticism of this. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
And it was free, and I really, it is good that people will do something like these are the types of things that are going to be at Sundance, and they're going to be at all of the film festivals where they have their VR pop-ups. And
Right. Right.
so that's good. We're the ones that are getting to see it first. It's the rest of the world will be watching all of these experiences in a few years like this, so.
Maybe. Um, in other new releases, we had an Iron Knight update. I happened to check it out since the update, so I'm not sure what the update entails. Have you checked it out yet, or?
No, I read the update. I didn't even know the update was there. I read it was
Well,
coming.
so coming, you had it in the new releases, so I figured it was out, and I just didn't know it.
No, no,
But
I had read that
okay,
it was going to be out this week,
uh,
or maybe even this weekend. I know that he had mentioned it and he worked on it, but he didn't really say what was going to
right,
be the update.
right. No, he was talking about wanting people to help him to test it with like a limited weekend beta or whatever.
Right,
I think it was
exactly.
right.
There was a limited weekend beta at which I decided I'm not going into at this point,
Hmm.
only because
Well,
are you gonna join in?
I have not I thought about it, but there's a potential weekend beta in another game that I'm part of a beta testing group for that might be going on today, and I've got other stuff going on too, so I'm a
Yeah,
little
I
bit
know.
busy this weekend.
That's just it. Is the weekend itself? It's so weird because now that we're all locked down, you would think during the week they could spread everything out, as opposed to cramming everything into a
Right,
weekend where, okay, I don't get it, but okay.
right. And there's a Denbury 2 update, which I know you were talking about earlier, so
hmm I can't
talk
wait to
about it
see that.
more in depth.
Right. Okay. Dead and Buried 2 update looks to me like I know one of the things that they had done, which very few people realized, was when they did their earlier update this year, they had created a way for you to create private rooms.
Okay.
So you didn't have to deal with all of the people that you didn't want to have to deal with, and you could have a room where your friends could go in and have your
Right.
shootout or your horde mode. And I don't think that they publicized that enough.
Okay.
And I know that they're doing something now with localization as well. And they showed the scene from OC5 where the people were playing Dead and Buried too.
Hmm.
And they had those boxes set up for them to hide
Right.
behind and everything.
Right. Yeah. I saw news about that. That there's a hint that the colocation is coming to the Quest. Yeah.
Right. So now I'm wondering if maybe that's going, because that would be the perfect place for Oculus to introduce something like that in one of their games.
Right.
And while they've already left, it's graphically, it's a beautiful game. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And I don't know if
It,
you've played it.
it was a graphically beautiful game on the Gear VR also.
Right.
I mean, and I really enjoyed it on there until I got too fed up with the audio issues because I could never join or hear voice chat because I was using a Bluetooth headset because that's what worked best for me. That's what I had. I didn't have a wired headset back then.
Mhm.
And that game and only that game and certain other Oculus titles would not let me use my mic. And because I couldn't use the mic, it also wouldn't let me hear. So I was like, okay, I just won't do the multiplayer. Well, single player gets boring after a while.
Yeah,
So I
five
stopped playing
minutes.
it.
Right.
I
Five
stopped
minutes
playing
of
it
single
because
player.
I could shut me out with the lack of the Bluetooth.
Right.
And and every time I would to bring it up, I'd just get people justifying it with, "Oh well, have you tried using Bluetooth? Don't you know the audio latency? Oh, it's not important in that game. It's just for chat."
Right.
And and the game audio itself worked just fine with my Bluetooth headset. I could hear the game audio. It was just chat that was disabled because of it.
I know. I know. They've made, and that game is so good. Why they made so many mistakes with the second one, I don't know. But I'm really hoping that they can bring it back in because it really was a great game. It really has the potential to be a great game, and I would
Yeah,
love to see everybody in
yeah,
our group back
yeah,
in there. So,
yeah. It was one of the first games that had a good reload mechanic. I don't see my UVR controller around here, but the reload mechanic was like
Right.
or whatever. It felt natural. It it felt good.
Right.
As
Exactly.
opposed to how other games did it, where you had to like push on the trackpad and then move it up to this spot, or it was really the clunky doing it that way with the UVR controller, but using it as a motion control where you just to flick it, it worked.
Right, exactly. They had it down. They really did.
Yeah,
And they did, and once again, like I said, the graphics were there from day one on this particular game when they released it. And
yeah,
that was what they used as the showcase at OC5.
right.
So, yeah, to me, it just made no sense that we waited this long to see it. It's like, when are they going to release Dead and Buried 3 with the Quest 2? And,
So it'll be for the Quest 5.
the Quest 5, the Quest for Quest. Yes,
Yeah.
I get it. No, oh, right. I did play some more Star Trek this week. I want to get back together on a real bridge crew. That's been a long time since we played that. I just thought about that.
So
So,
the Star Trek update to Dead and Buried?
um, oh, that would be cool, wouldn't it? That would be one hell of an away mission. I would like that. Maybe we could team that up. And um, so Dead and Buried 2, I've read some of the stuff about the updates, but once again, very vague. Very, very vague. It's
Well, huh. Well, hopefully that's a good update because, as you mentioned, it's a good game and it deserves to be made better. No,
right. It should be a stellar platform game. It should be like Mario Brothers is
right,
to Nintendo. This was their game from the beginning. They thought it was good enough to show OC5 and
right,
arena-based and local and everything else, and now they're what?
yeah.
A year later, they're still
Well,
not sure.
um, the original game was an Oculus game, Oculus the title, but it was evidently subcontracted out
Right.
to another studio, and now that studio, I believe, is not involved with it anymore. It's just Oculus in-house now. So,
Right. But you would think that they have a big enough studio and enough money
yeah,
behind them to
yeah,
polish off that game. Yeah, I would think so
you
too.
would think so, yes. But
But I'm looking
anyways,
forward to it. So,
yeah,
and I'm looking forward to more players being in there and not just children. That to
but,
me is my biggest problem with a lot of
but,
these games. Is there
yeah.
should be an adult-only path, or lock off a room for
Well, problem is, you have to go by account settings for that, and a lot of parents don't bother making a junior account for their kid. I mean, Rec Room is full of under 13-year-olds running around because parents give them and let them use their account, or they just make a regular account for them and they don't make a junior account. And I mean, I can kind of understand why, because the Rec Room Junior account is you can't hear the other players and you can't talk to the other players with your voice, and you can't see what other players make with the maker pen, and I think it goes a little too far on the restrictions on that,
Mhm.
but still it's better than nothing, and I think that okay, I have a junior account for my son on Macro. We can't play at the same time in VR because we've only got the one Quest, but I am the owner of his account, so to speak. So, in theory, I should, and this is my opinion. This is not how I think it actually works, but how I think it should work. Is I should be able to voice chat with him. I'm his parent. I am the
Yes.
parent account for that junior account.
Right.
I should be able to voice chat with him. Maybe we would have to be in a private room for that to work, but I should be able to voice chat with him. I should be able to let him see what I'm making with the maker pen so that we can create things together.
So
You
you're saying
know?
basically a family account,
Yeah,
because the thing is,
yeah,
you don't want another adult
right,
having access to your child by having created a junior account and being
right,
able to, once again, it's the whole access
right.
to
But
vulnerability. So,
right, but there should be that family nature to it because I had to make an account and it's attached to my account.
hmm
You know,
oh
so
no,
it,
no, I agree with
no,
you. I think there should be a
yeah,
way to make it a family account. I'm just saying, in general,
yeah.
the whole platform, it
Well,
would be
right,
very difficult. But as a
right,
family account, that should be something that they could flip a switch tomorrow and be
right,
able to do.
right, and I think that would be a great idea.
Right. It's just an
But
associated account. It's
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, but yeah, the whole kids running around in all the games. I completely understand why that annoys a lot of people because they have no um, self-regulation
Mhm.
ability.
Right. I mean, look, I remember being a kid too, and I don't know what I would have been like if I had been set free in a world like this when I
Right,
was younger, but I know I'm not, and I know I don't want them to be in the world I'm in right now. So that
right,
that much I've established. Everything else is sort of, we can
right.
discuss, but
Yeah. Anyways, moving on to because we are running really late now. A pistol whip update. We touched on that briefly or in my highlights. I already talked a lot about it. It's a very fun scene, and it comes with a new set of weapons to choose from. And some of the weapons are just cosmetic, so
right.
there's no impact on anything. It's all just what look do you want. So
It's
these
nice to
are
know the
more
developers are there.
retro style or something. It looks more like a pseudo retro style than an actual realistic retro style. But
Well, that's just it. Instead of calling it steampunk or cyberpunk, they used a different punk, like
diesel
diesel
punk.
punk,
Yeah,
diesel punk,
yeah,
which that's a new one for me. I knew cyberpunk, I knew, all of the other punks, but this is a new punk in town.
yeah. Well, all that I have to say is every time I hear diesel mentioned, there is one thing that I think of, um, and it's uh, I'm pulling up a picture to do a screen share of. You will regret me doing this.
Okay, I'm taking your word for that.
Donald Diesel.
Oh God.
This is the mascot of the Diesel line of clothing.
Oh, if you could send me a link to that, I definitely like that. I think my wife would like me in a pair of pajamas like that. Well, now that you've described diesel punk, I think nobody's going to be downloading that extra. Oh man, do I miss steampunk?
So, anyways, moving on to the last new release, which I also already talked about briefly. Virtual Battlegrounds. Um, it's available on Steam, and I believe it's also available on Oculus Rift. And I've heard that there are tentative plans based on how things go with the game and how things like Population 1 go. But
Hmm.
there are possible tentative maybe plans to possibly maybe try to bring this to the Quest also in the future. But nothing set in stone, nothing definite, nothing. Oh yeah, we will do this. No, it's just depending maybe. So
I'm still waiting for Battle Wake to get to the Quest.
yeah, Yeah, but if you are into battle royale games, this is a pretty solid one, and it works well with virtual desktop. I had to inject it to be able to play it, but in the most recent virtual desktop update, they specifically mentioned fixing compatibility with this game. So the next time I try it, I am assuming that I will not have to inject it, that I can just run it. So.
Right. Well, we'll see. I mean, virtual desktops keeps getting better and better, giving
Yep.
us wireless headsets. So, we got
Yep.
to bear with him, let him do
Yep.
his thing. He certainly
Yep.
seems to be leading the pack. They seem to be following him. So,
Yeah. So upcoming titles. We still have Supernatural coming out on the 23rd. Jury is out on that. To me, it looks like just just another rhythm game with a whopping price tag on it because of the $20 a month subscription discounted.
right. I can't imagine what they think the non-discounted version will be because I'm pretty
30.
sure
I
that
don't know, or
now,
25. I don't
now
know.
remember, folks, Viveport for $2.25 a month,
Right.
$2.25 a month for
Right.
access, unlimited access to thousands of VR games,
Yeah.
or $20 a month to be able to
Or
play
one
Beat
game.
Saber,
Yes. Or a Beat Saber clone. Yes.
a Beat Saber
Uh,
clone that disappears when you stop paying that $20 a month.
yes. So jury is out on that. I don't know. I mean, it looks like it should be it's a fairly fun game, but is that enough for a $20 a month subscription? I don't know. I'm thinking probably not.
Right.
But
But if the developer would like to get in touch with us and tell us what does make it that way, please.
or offer us a free year subscription.
I- I'd be more than happy to let them know my opinion.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. We also had some surprise good news recently. Pixelripped 1995 is coming out on April 23rd. So this week, by the time this podcast comes out, I'm looking forward to it. I know Pixelripped 1989 was very well received. It's a little disappointing still that it was not allowed on the Quest Store, but I played a little bit of it when I had Viveport,
Mhm.
and it was good and well done and fun, except for when I had my 10-minute disconnect thing happen, and then I would have to start the level over.
Always a complainer. Always a complainer.
But that's not a reflection on the game itself. It's my connection that's a reflection on.
Well, I think
So Pixelripped 1995 should also be really well done and really cool. And no, moving on from 8-bit graphics to 16-bit graphics or 32-bit. I'm not sure.
no 16.
They're basically in the 1990s what it was
Right.
like back then. So
Sort of very Final Fantasy-ish, actually, to be honest
Mhm.
with you. It looked to me very much like Final Fantasy. When I saw on Twitter somebody had put up a piece with her looking in the mirror and putting the hands in front and
right,
everything else,
yeah,
all
yeah,
I
that
could
was
think of
her, I
was
think.
Alice from Final Fantasy. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, got it.
So so yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I will probably buy it and play it and maybe make videos on it too. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, but people see that King Spray logo and they go to watch it in Facebook after you've made it jump through 47 hoops.
Yeah. So moving on to our news. Now that we are 58 minutes in,
Okay, 2 minutes worth of news.
Blender VR support is finally on its way. You can now view models in VR if you set it up right. You can't manipulate models and you
Right.
can't reach out and turn or rotate them even. All you can do is you can view it, but
First
that's
steps.
just the first step. More is coming, and it is very promising. I am looking forward to the point in time when maybe I can have Blender on my Shadow PC, access it with VR, and do everything in VR in Blender.
Right.
Which, no offense to Gravity Sketch, but the Blender is more so powerful in some ways. But if Gravity Sketch gets there first, I'll just be using Gravity Sketch because it's native.
Exactly.
Which is better.
Right. Native works.
Yeah. In other news, Joe Strout of Quiver and Beatron has joined the Elysia team, which is an upcoming MMORPG game that is aimed at the Rift and Steam and Quest. So
Go Joe.
that is promising. That's
Yes,
not G.I. Joe. We don't say Go Joe here.
Sorry. Go Strout.
Yeah, go Strout.
There you go.
He is a very good developer. So very good at optimizing things, and he understands VR and the mobile side of things, which technically the Quest is very well. So he's a great addition to the team, and that makes me very happy that I did back them in the pre-Kickstarter.
Which I did not.
With him on the team, it will almost definitely actually happen.
Well, not only that, it will be an improved game from what it would have been if he had not been on the team.
Right. So, in other news, now you can be a space cadet when you are selecting which game to play in VR, because you have a space station home environment to choose from. And if you are one of the lucky few who have been upgraded to version 16, you also have pass-through as the home environment option. So you can be in a black and white, not quite accurately represented version of your real home in VR.
Wait. This goes right along with being able to get your phone calls while you're in the middle of a game. So yeah. I'm like, it's like, we can't escape anymore. They found ways to, I'm sorry, pass through being your home environment.
We hear you like reality, so we put some reality in your virtual reality.
Right, that's just why I got this headset, was to be able to see this room through a headset.
In a distorted and
headache and
black and white view, yeah.
Yes, perfect. Absolutely perfect. Must have been a Chad idea.
Yes. On the other hand, Facebook, on their more VR side hand, as opposed to their more reality side hand, they have begun putting open in VR links on certain Facebook content on Facebook mobile. So if you click that, it takes your virtual reality and puts it into your virtual reality. So when you put on your headset, it's already loaded for you. I have not run across any of those yet to give it a try. My guess is that if you are one of those people who really does not trust Facebook, and so you do not have it linked with your headset, this will not work for you. But if you do have it linked, then it should work.
Yeah, I still have my ingrained Facebook negativity, so I'm as far removed as I can be while still using my Quest. And
right. I understand that. I do.
Yeah.
It's damned if you do, damned if you don't, right?
Exactly. Look, I already know they know everything there is to know about me. I just don't have to keep it as...
And yet, I still get ads that are not of interest to me.
How is that possible? How could that be possible? I don't know. Oh, and the one thing we didn't mention, and I don't see it on our Trello board, is xrswim.com,
Right.
which is
I forgot
now
about
the
that. Yeah.
home of finding web
Yeah.
XR
Yep.
VR on
Yep.
the web.
Yeah.
So,
Wait. WebXR is on the web?
no, no, web VR, you can access it now. And this is going to be like a Netflix type, also
Right.
giving you
Yeah.
direct links to
Yep.
these.
And I think they are working on a way to allow developers to sell their stuff
Right.
on there also, so that there can be paid content also. They need to work out the details of it, because as it is right now, WebVR is you go to the URL and it's there. There is no sign in, there is no account linking. So they're going to need to figure out a way for that. But
In
if
the
they can get that
meantime,
going, that would be a good thing, actually. That
yeah,
would, yeah.
I agree.
So
I agree. So that's just it.
as
Is
much as I love free, it's a good thing to have a viable marketplace for that.
right. Sometimes premium content is good. What I'd really like to see while we're talking about that, and before we run too long, is I'd love to see big screen cinema
Mm-hmm.
reach out to some of these companies that are trying to make you watch $20 movies on your Netflix or Amazon Prime because they can't get them into a theater.
Right? Yeah, and put it in.
Why
Yeah, yeah.
don't they make it available in big screen cinema for those of us that will pay, not the 20?
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't even pay 20 when I go to the movie theater.
Exactly. So, I mean, but if you give me access to it, or if you give a room access, so you could have like 10
Right.
friends or whatever, and they could be watching the movies, I think that that would
Yeah.
be an excellent opportunity for
It
somebody
was.
right now to do something
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Speaking of watching things in VR, Tribeca Cinema 360 is on Oculus TV now. That's another film festival thing, and there are various 360 videos, some of which are live action, some of which are computer generated, some of which are a combination, and um, all kinds of different stories and mini documentaries and whatnot available. And it's available on Oculus TV for a limited time, I think. I want to say about a month
that.
or
Okay,
something
so
like that. I'm not sure.
was
But
that for the
it kind
lockdown also?
of hinted that it wasn't going to be on there forever. It's just that that's what's featured on there right now.
I would not be surprised if they are going to experiment with subscriptions, that something like that would also be a subscription,
Yeah,
or Sundance VR, different things that they do at these different festivals. If they can
right,
find out a way to monetize this at a reasonable rate,
right,
there's obviously a pretty large audience now that can.
right. Speaking of Oculus TV, just real quick before we move on to the next news item, I kind of miss how it used to be on the go, which is when you went into Oculus TV, you were in another environment with a big TV in front of you
Right,
and whatnot, and now it's just another menu thing, and you're still in their default home space.
which is terrible.
That's not as immersive that way.
Right.
So,
The other way, it was like your private treehouse, modern
right,
treehouse, and you looked at the
right,
mountains if you wanted to. You
right,
didn't have to just stare at a TV screen. So,
right,
yeah, I
right.
agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah. Anyway, the next bit of news: Jedi controller driver in Questlink leak. There has been some info gleaned about that.
Mhm.
Basically, that it's going to have more and better hand and finger tracking. That it's maybe going to be in analog to sensor, so it'll be more accurate and might allow more gestures instead of
So,
just
No, it
Yeah.
does. They showed it already. It
Yeah.
has it does the four fingers and the thumb.
Right.
The pad itself is going to have to be the same because by
Right.
Facebook
Well,
design,
yeah.
everything
Yeah.
moving forward has to be backwards
Backwards compatible.
compatible.
Right. And it's going to
Excuse me.
have, in theory, enhanced haptics as well.
Right.
What exactly that is
Although they
going to look
talk
like,
about
I'm
being
not
able to
entirely
turn
sure.
it
But
down. I don't
what?
know. In the enhanced haptics, when you read it, they're talking about how you have the ability to turn it down or off.
Right.
So I'm not really sure how that's advanced haptics as opposed to
I don't know.
no haptics, but
I don't know. But and it's also using a newer IMU unit,
right.
so that it will be able to either more accurately track accelerometer motion or for a longer period of time, or
Hmm.
both. So it'll and it has a 60 hertz detection of the light as opposed
Reacquisition,
to
right.
a 30 times per second one. So it'll have it's a faster and more accurate tracking. So a lot of small changes that up to head up to
Right.
potentially a much better experience.
But then again, it really depends on just how much of a better experience. Because if they do achieve the index-like
Right.
function on the
Right.
controller where you get that,
Hmm.
but at the same token, while they're doing that and working with hand gestures, I'm not sure. It's almost like the Link and Virtual Desktop. They seem to be working on both approaches simultaneously.
Right.
So we're going to have to see which one works out better, the finger detection on its own or the finger detection with the Jedi controllers. But the
Right.
Jedi controllers have also been possibly associated with the Quest, whereas definitely associated with the Quest 2
Right.
or the
Del
Del
Mar.
Mar, right,
Right.
the Del Mar, which will be
Right.
who knows when.
Yeah. My best guess is that it's going to be intended for the Del Mar and probably won't come out until the Del Mar, but it might be available as an upgrade to the controllers for the Quest. So that if you just want to upgrade to the controllers, but I don't know.
The only comparison I could make is like when Vive went from their Lightbox 1 to their Lightbox 2, and it seemed like about 10% of the people went along with that, and the other 90% said the Lightbox 1 is just fine, thank you,
Right,
and keep your Lightbox 2.
right.
Um,
And this may be signs that they are moving kind of in the direction Valve is or did, in that everything is modular.
right,
If you want the index controllers, you can just go get the index controllers. You don't have to upgrade your lighthouses. You don't have to upgrade to the headset. You can just go buy the index to controllers, and it'll work with your existing Vive and existing lighthouses.
right. That's the one thing I will say, because, I have a Vive as well and the Rift as well, but the Vive, I do like their modular approach, and I do like
Yeah,
the fact that you were able to go with the higher headset, but stay with the original light boxes and wands.
right,
So that was an
right.
excellent thing.
Yeah,
My thing to them would be the next. Now it almost seems like the Index is old fashioned. It's been out for 3 months and it's
right,
already like ready to go on the antique shelf.
right. That happens with almost everything nowadays, it seems like.
Well, no, the bad part is going to be for Mikey when he takes his Wooger vest out from the
And it's
box
going
and
to be
puts it on
outdated
the
already.
antique shelf. Like, that's going to be
It's
bad.
going to be like, dang, this is so last year.
Right, exactly. It's so retro. Almost diesel punk.
Yeah. So, in other news, Oculus Connect 7 has been postponed until later in a digital format.
Correct. Which is fine. It's
Yeah,
great.
and not terribly surprising.
No, I mean,
We don't have any details on the date and all that
no.
yet, but yeah.
But I'm sure it'll be fine. Everybody
Yeah.
that's ever attended these things, yeah, there won't be quite the socialization, but I don't think there would have been anyway. So
Right.
this year, it's a perfect venue to
Yeah.
be shown in venues.
Yeah. Um, and a last bit of news, VR Ears Kickstarter is launching on April 21st.
Hmm.
Also this week, when the podcast comes out, is enhanced audio on Quest, Rift S, PSVR, and more.
I guess that's Pico. I don't know.
Maybe that includes the Pico or the Pico Goblin? I don't know.
I don't know. I know. I'm trying to think. And more? You know.
Paco's Go? I don't know. But, oh, and the original Vibe. Okay, that's the and more. It basically headphones you can attach, if I remember right.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah. It clips onto the side strap area and the
And
plug
it puts
in,
you in the
and,
game as
and it
opposed to every other
uses
one.
the both of the jacks, I think, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
it looks fine. You know,
yeah,
I mean, ironically, I think that any of these headphones, if you get a good set of headphones, you're going to get good sound.
yeah,
That's pretty much bottom line.
yeah.
They can't do much better than the sound that's coming out of the Quest. Um, you know,
Yeah.
I guess they can curb it a little bit, but
Well, anything is better than the sound coming out of the Quest, in my opinion. Out of the built-in the piped audio speakers, I mean, you know.
yeah, everybody raved about those at the beginning, and I just don't see
Yeah,
it.
it was okay at the beginning, but then they turned down the maximum volume because of the audio crackling
Yeah,
issue, which I never got. I never
me
had audio
neither. But
crackling.
I guess enough people mentioned it that
Yeah, and that's all well and good, but I'm hard of hearing. And given how this hits on my head, I can't wear my hearing aid with it. I mean, this part here
right.
hits right here where my hearing aid is.
Gotcha.
So I've got to take that off before I put it on. Otherwise, when I put that on, that forces my hearing aid off, and it lands on my shoulder, then the floor, whatever, and that's not good for my hearing aid.
No, I would imagine
So,
not. But hopefully somebody will come out with an actual Bluetooth non-latency
yeah.
and
Yeah, so don't get me so started on that, because everybody keeps going, oh, the latency of Bluetooth makes it horrible and no, it doesn't.
I don't see where it
I am
does.
hard of hearing. I don't rely as much on the audio cues as other people do. I rely on the visual cues. Those are not disabled when I'm using a Bluetooth headset.
That
Yeah,
is true. I can see where it might cause a little bit of distraction for some people, but I also
well,
very
yeah,
honestly, I can adjust
yeah.
on any Bluetooth speaker setup I have. There's an adjustment for latency.
Well, yeah, and Android has built into it for the past 2 or 3 versions low latency Bluetooth
Hmm.
ability.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, there's probably still not enough of a low latency for like high level music production, but for a game like Beat Saber, it should be plenty. You know,
Well, high-level music
especially
production sequenced, right?
because Beat Saber, honestly, you could play that with the sound off. You're not relying on your hearing to know when to hit.
It's hard enough, Josh. Please don't give me that to even think about. I
Well,
don't.
no, but you know what I mean, though. You know,
I
you
do.
see the notes that's coming at you. unless you are playing with the ghost note modifier, in which case you don't. But then you have the song memorized. If you Even if you had the song off, even if you were deaf, if you had it memorized and you swung at the right time, you're gonna do good. You
Okay.
know?
I understand what you're saying, but you sort of make it sound like Helen Keller could jump in there on Expert
Well, no,
Plus and
Helen Keller probably couldn't because you would still need to be able to
find
see.
something, right? To really, but,
but but no, my point is not that you don't need sound, but I'm used to being limited in that area.
Mhm.
I deal with it. It does not bother me if there is a little bit of latency in the Bluetooth headset. It really doesn't. Give me that option.
I was going to say it should just tell you certain games should say this game is better played with a wired headset,
Yeah,
as the audio cues are super important, or it could say you could use either.
right.
Or
Or
you just
it is a just so you know, we notice you are using a Bluetooth headset. That's not optimal for this. Do you want to continue using that? Yeah. Okay. Your funeral
any of those
or whatever.
things.
You know.
Exactly.
So
The developer
give
could
me the
just put it in.
choice. Don't
Exactly.
take the choice away from me.
I agree. I, I
So
agree. I can't argue with you. I agree
yeah.
100%.
Yeah, that's what ended up turning me off of the original Dead and Buried. Was because I couldn't get into the voice chat because I was using a Bluetooth headset and it didn't recognize the microphone when other games on the Quest recognized the microphone just fine. All space, V time, they all worked just fine with the microphone. But
Right.
because Dead and Buried went, oh, you don't have a wired microphone hooked up. Okay, we're going to turn off the voice chat entirely for you. You don't even get to listen to voice chat.
I know. That was
Oh,
so.
and I could see other players trying to talk to me, and being on the UVR, I didn't really have a way of indicating that I wasn't being rude. I just had voice chat turned off. Yeah.
Exactly. So yes, I agree with you that they have to, with everything they've overcome with the Quest, honestly, you would think that the latency issue is only going to be a major issue in rhythm games. In most
Right.
games, it's not
Right.
going to be a major issue. They
Right.
can
I
make the
mean,
audio a little longer or
yeah.
pre,
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, in games like Wands, some people use the sound of the spells to know. Oh, but still, again, there are plenty of visual cues in the game also. So if you have a slightly delayed audio, you get used to it and you rely on the visual cues.
and I know we shouldn't go into this much longer because people
Right.
are gonna, but the one thing I was gonna say is it doesn't even have to be that complicated because the
Right.
developer could say, okay, I'm going to send the audio cue an eighth of a second before the actual
Right.
video occurs, and now you're hooked up, there is no latency,
Right. Well,
and
yeah. If they can detect you're using a Bluetooth headset, yeah. So they could do that, yeah.
absolutely.
Except in a game where the sound of the spell is from the other player shooting the
That,
spell,
but that becomes the delay
that
of the video. See, that's what I'm saying is the actual visual would be
right,
delayed by that same billionth of a second of the latency in the
right,
Bluetooth. So you sort of
right,
create that,
right, yeah, yeah. It could be, yeah. That would require more work than some developers want to do, I'm sure, but I see what you mean, yeah.
right. So it's a solvable problem.
Yeah,
What I'm
yeah. Just if they care to solve
saying.
it.
Exactly. That's exactly what it boils down to.
Exactly. So we are running long. It's almost an hour and a half. So we wrapped up our news.
Yes, we did.
So I put a bow on it even.
Wow. What color?
A green and purple bow. Green and purple polka dot.
I like it.
So have a good day. Remember to like and subscribe. Put bows on all of your friends until they also like and subscribe us, and then you can take the bows off. And
if you want to.
Have a good rest of your week.
Enjoy, guys. Bye-bye.